The best advice I've ever heard is this: you don't have to control everything. Sounds freeing, doesn't it? But here's the kicker. Most of us spend our lives doing the opposite. We cling to control, chase comfort, and obsess over things we can't change. Why? Because we've been told that's the key to happiness. But what if it's not? What if true happiness, growth, and fulfillment lie in doing the exact opposite? In letting go of control, stepping into the unknown, and embracing the impermanence of life. This isn't just some abstract idea. It's a mindset that has the power to transform how you live, love, and see the world. Stick with me as we unpack 8 truths that might just change your perspective forever. Let's dive in. Number 1. You are replaceable. Embracing the freedom of authenticity. Imagine this. You're at your workplace or maybe in a group of friends, feeling like the glue that holds everything together. People depend on you, your efforts are recognized, and it seems like without you the system would crumble. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? You feel valued, needed. But let's pause for a second and dive deeper. What happens when you're not around? When you take a vacation, fall ill, or eventually leave that job? Does the world come to a halt? Of course not. Life goes on. Someone else steps in, maybe not with your style, but the role you left behind doesn't remain empty for long. It's a tough pill to swallow, but here's the core truth. You are replaceable. Not just in your job, but in almost every facet of life. Think about the technology we use today. Remember the first cell phone you ever owned? How important it felt. Now it's probably sitting in a drawer somewhere, forgotten, replaced by a shinier, faster device. That same principle applies to people, relationships, jobs, even the roles we play in our families. Time has a way of moving forward, with or without us. It's a nostalgic reminder of how fleeting our significance can feel. But don't let this realization bring you down. Instead, let it set you free. What if being replaceable is a gift? It means you don't have to carry the weight of being perfect. You don't have to exhaust yourself trying to meet everyone's expectations, because the truth is, the world doesn't demand it. It allows you to show up authentically as yourself, without the pressure of being irreplaceable. When you stop chasing the illusion of indispensability, you can focus on what truly matters to you, not to others. Isn't that liberating? Aren't you curious to see what life looks like when you stop trying to control how people perceive you? Number 2. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Step into the unknown. Think back to when you were a child. Remember learning to ride a bike. At first it felt terrifying. The wobbling, the falls, the scraped knees. It was a mess. But then something magical happened. You figured it out. You soared down the street, the wind in your hair, a triumphant smile on your face. That feeling of conquering fear, of mastering something new, stayed with you. It became a cornerstone of growth. Now, fast forward to today. Life feels comfortable, doesn't it? You wake up, go about your routine, maybe watch your favorite TV show, and call it a day. But here's the catch. Comfort, as soothing as it feels, is the silent thief of growth. When was the last time you did something that scared you? Not in a reckless way, but something that pushed your boundaries, like speaking up in a meeting, learning a new skill, or stepping away from a situation that no longer serves you. It's in those moments of discomfort where growth truly lives. The core idea is simple yet profound. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. It's like a caterpillar refusing to leave the cocoon. Sure, it's warm and safe in there, but staying inside means never becoming the butterfly. And yet, so many of us choose the cocoon. Why? Because the unknown is scary. But here's the nostalgic twist. Remember how every great story in your life began. Whether it was falling in love, starting a new job, or moving to a new city, It all started with a step into the unknown. Now imagine what's on the other side of your current comfort zone. What dreams are you shelving because they seem too hard or risky? Aren't you curious about who you could become if you just dared to try? Number 3. The future is a trap, living in the present moment. Picture this. You're driving down a scenic road, the kind where the trees form a perfect canopy overhead and the sunlight filters through like a dream. But instead of enjoying the view, your eyes are glued to the GPS. You're so focused on what's ahead, the next turn, the final destination, that you completely miss the beauty of where you are right now. Sound familiar? This is how most of us live our lives, fixated on the future. The next paycheck, the next big opportunity, the next chapter of our lives. It's as if happiness is always one step ahead, never quite within reach. But here's the twist. The future is a mirage. It doesn't exist, not really. By the time we get there, it's already become the present, and the cycle starts all over again. Think about the core message here. The more we obsess over the future, the more we lose the present. And the present is all we truly have. Remember the last time you were so immersed in something that you lost track of time? Maybe it was a deep conversation, a walk in nature, or even just listening to a favorite song. Those moments felt real because you were fully present. There was no worrying about tomorrow or reliving yesterday, just you, alive in the now. But here's the curious part. Why is it so hard to stay in the present? Why does our mind constantly pull us into the what-ifs and what's next? Maybe it's because we've been conditioned to believe that planning for the future is the responsible thing to do. But what if that planning is robbing us of the very life we're planning for? What if the real joy, the real freedom, lies in embracing the uncertainty of now? Number 4. Desire is a poison, letting go for true happiness. Close your eyes for a moment and think about something you really want. Maybe it's a new car, a dream job, or even that perfect relationship. Now imagine yourself finally getting it. At first it feels incredible. You're on top of the world, your heart racing with excitement. But then, as days turn into weeks, the thrill begins to fade. That car becomes just another vehicle, the job another source of stress, the relationship not quite as perfect as you imagined. Sound familiar? This is the trap of desire. At its core, desire feels like a motivator, something to strive for. But what if I told you it's more like poison? It tricks us into believing that happiness lies just around the corner, always tied to the next thing we don't have. We spend our lives chasing after it, like a hamster on a wheel, only to find ourselves right back where we started, yearning for more. Think back to a time in your life when you were truly content. Maybe it wasn't when you had everything you wanted, but when you felt at peace with what you had. It could have been a simple moment, laughing with friends, watching a sunset, or sipping your favorite coffee on a quiet morning. Those moments weren't born out of desire, but from presence and gratitude. So, what if the antidote to desire isn't having more, but needing less? It's a radical thought in a world constantly telling us to want bigger, better, faster. What if the real treasure is hidden not in acquiring but in letting go? Imagine the freedom of no longer being a slave to your cravings, of finding joy in simplicity. Aren't you curious about what life would feel like if you stopped running towards something and just stood still, appreciating where you are? Number 5. The opinion of others doesn't matter, breaking free from societal expectations. Picture this. You're standing in front of your closet, agonizing over what to wear, not because you don't have options, but because you're worried about what people might think. Will they judge you, approve of you, admire you? Now, extend that scenario to every aspect of your life, your career, your hobbies, even your Instagram posts. How much of what you do is driven by the opinions of others? The truth is, most of us live as though we're on stage, constantly performing for an invisible audience. It starts early, with teachers, friends and family shaping who we think we're supposed to be. Over time, it becomes a habit. We chase approval like it's the ultimate prize, adjusting ourselves to fit into boxes that were never made for us. But here's the heartbreaking reality. No matter what you do, you can't please everyone. Someone, somewhere, will always disapprove. So why are we so obsessed with their opinions? Think back to a time when you truly didn't care what others thought. Maybe it was when you were a child, lost in your own world, dancing or singing without a second thought. Or perhaps it was during a rare moment of courage when you spoke your mind or followed your passion, even if it wasn't the popular choice. How did it feel? Liberating, wasn't it? Now imagine living your entire life that way, not recklessly, but authentically. What if you stopped letting other people's opinions dictate your choices? What if the only approval you needed was your own? It's a scary thought, stepping off the stage and into your true self. But isn't it also exciting? Aren't you curious about what you'd discover if you stopped living for them and started living for you? Number 6. Control is an illusion, finding peace in life's uncertainty. Think about the plans you've made in life, the meticulously organized schedules, the 5-year goals, and even the small day-to-day routines. For a moment, they feel solid, don't they? Like you have it all under control. But then, life happens. A sudden storm cancels your flight, a job opportunity vanishes, or a relationship changes overnight. That tight grip you thought you had, it slips, leaving you scrambling, frustrated and questioning everything. We're wired to crave control. It gives us a sense of safety, a feeling that we're steering the ship. But here's the hard truth. Control is nothing but an illusion. Life is like the ocean, vast, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. You can chart your course, but you can't stop the waves from crashing. Now think back to a time when something unexpected turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Maybe it was a job rejection that pushed you toward a better opportunity, or perhaps a chance encounter that led to a lifelong friendship. Those moments weren't part of your plan, but they shaped you in ways you never anticipated. Isn't it strange how life has a way of working itself out, even when it feels like everything is falling apart? What if, instead of clinging to control, you learned to embrace the chaos? Imagine the peace of letting go, not giving up, but surrendering to the flow of life. What might you discover if you stopped fighting the current and started trusting it? Aren't you curious about the freedom that comes with knowing you don't have to control everything? Number 7. Relationships are impermanent. Cherish the moments without clinging. Take a moment to think about someone you love deeply. Maybe it's a partner, a family member, or a close friend. Now, imagine the first time you met them, the laughter, the connection, the warmth of that initial bond. It's a beautiful memory, isn't it? But now, consider this. One day, that person may no longer be a part of your life. Not because of a lack of love, but because nothing in this world lasts forever. Relationships are like seasons. Some are fleeting, like a summer romance, while others are enduring, like the steady rhythm of autumn. But even the longest-lasting relationships change over time. People grow, circumstances shift, and life moves on. It's a bittersweet truth that can feel both heartbreaking and beautiful. Think about a past relationship that's no longer in your life. A childhood friend, an old mentor, or a loved one who's passed away. At the time, you may have thought they'd be there forever, and yet their presence, however brief, shaped you in profound ways. Their impact remains, like a melody you can still hum even after the song ends. So, what if instead of clinging to relationships, we learned to cherish them? What if we focused on the moments we share now, instead of fearing the inevitable end? Imagine the depth of connection you could feel, knowing that every moment is precious precisely because it's temporary. Aren't you curious about how your relationships might transform if you embraced this perspective? Number 8. Death is your best friend. Living with urgency and intention. Close your eyes and picture your life as it is today. The routines, the dreams, the people you hold dear. Now imagine it all ending tomorrow. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Death is the one certainty we all share, yet it's the one thing we avoid thinking about. But what if, instead of fearing it, we befriended it? Death isn't here to haunt us. It's here to remind us of what truly matters. Think of the times when you've faced a brush with mortality, maybe through a loved one's passing or a close call of your own. Didn't it make everything sharper? The trivial worries faded, and what remained were the essentials: love, connection, and the urgency to live fully. Remember a time when you seized the moment, knowing it was fleeting. Maybe it was a spontaneous road trip, a deep conversation late at night, or simply telling someone how much they mean to you. Those moments felt alive because you weren't taking time for granted. You were living with intention. So, what if death wasn't your enemy, but your greatest teacher? What if it whispered in your ear every day, "Don't wait, do it now"? Imagine the life you could create if you stopped postponing your dreams and started living as if every moment mattered. Aren't you curious about what you could accomplish if you treated time as the precious gift it is? As we wrap up, remember this. Life isn't about controlling every outcome or chasing perfection. It's about embracing the unknown, living authentically, and finding peace in the impermanence of it all. The truths we've explored are your tools to unlock a mindset that fosters growth, happiness, and fulfillment. It's not always easy, but the most meaningful changes never are. Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you've watched this far. It shows you're part of the rare 0.01% who actually finish what they start. If you're ready to take your journey of transformation seriously, make sure to join our growing community by hitting that subscribe button. Let's create a life of purpose, one truth at a time.